guys, it's Patriot Picker. My name is Chris. We are down in the eBay bunker today, and we're getting ready to walk through some items that have sold over this past couple of days. That these items have sold that we're going to show you has been one of the best selling, I guess, times in my reselling adventure so far. As many of you probably remember, June was kind of slow. July has picked up a little bit. And as a result of the pickup, I think, each of you should be starting to see some more activity in the area of selling. Well, all that to say, let's hope that that's the case for everybody, and everybody's experiencing it and having success. But if you're not still, and you're still, seeing some slowdown, I don't know how many items you list per day, but I got some great advice about listing a while back. And I try to list at least 10 things a day. And, as long as you're feeding eBay, the algorithm will work with you, I guess. So that's what is happening with me, and so hopefully the trend continues. Let's jump in now and see what's sold. So previous to being in eBay, I used to have a different hobby, and I was into relic hunting, or some people call it metal detecting. I had a really nice metal detector, and I would go out and I would dig holes looking for treasure. And the only difference now is I'm finding treasure at yard sales and Goodwill stores instead of under the ground. But one of the tools that I used to use in that hobby was this item here. This is called a pinpointer. And basically you had your swinging metal detector that you swung over the ground, and then whenever you dug your hole up, you had to use this to pinpoint the piece of metal as close to you as you could. And this right here is made by Garrett, which is a top name brand for metal detectors. So I listed this, don't need it anymore obviously, and sold it for $74.99 plus shipping. I paid more for it brand new, but I was able to recoup some of my investment there. And so I'm kind of excited that was able to go out, because that's a pretty good piece of profit. I'm battling a cold, so bear with me. Probably going to be a lot of editing in this video. You don't want to hear me snorting and snotting, and you don't want to see me sneeze on camera. So let's move on. All right, now many of you probably, well, I don't know if you can figure this out if you've been following my channel, but my wife and I have actually been sizing down. So a lot of stuff that we've been selling here lately is stuff that we had ourselves. This next item is a lot of books that we decided to get rid of that we no longer needed. And we knew somebody could use them because they're in really good shape. These are a set of 6 paperback biographies of different famous Christians. And so those sold for $24.99 plus shipping. And I love when I can get these into the hands of somebody who can actually use them, because there's a lot of history here in my hand and a lot of encouragement here in my hand, and I love to see young people learn about their history. All right. So what's next? So this next item is an item we picked up at a local thrift store. It was brand new in the case. It's a Casio large calculator printer, and that sold for $29.99 plus shipping. All right, I told you there were going to be some editing here. I got a frog in my throat. I've got a cold. I swear, it couldn't be a better day to try to make a video. Next up is this big pot here. And this is made by Emeril, E-M-E-R-I-L. This is a 6-quart, I believe. And we found this in a local thrift store. No lid. And I think I put on Instagram, they sell even without lids. $39.99 plus shipping, guys. So if you see anything by this company called Emeril, E-M-E-R-I-L, it's morning time. Bear with me. And I've had no coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. Need some Dr. Pepper. That's what I need. All right, next up is this game called Morphology. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details about that. That's sold for $14.99 plus shipping. If you ever see this game, pick it up. It sells real well. It's different than most. It's not a board game. It's more like a activity game for groups. You use the items that are in the game to create different things, and that's kind of neat because there's a lot of creativity that goes with it, of course. But anyway, you know where we stand when it comes to games. All right, next up. Hey guys, it's July. You ever heard of Christmas in July? Well, I have now. I never thought in a million years that something Christmassy would sell in July, but it did. Here is a Hallmark keepsake ornament. Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, and the item is called A Star is Born. So it's the old Rudolph kids show that we used to watch as kids with the abominable snowman. And yeah, that decorative ornament sold for $15.99 plus shipping. So Merry Christmas all year long. All right, the next item up, this item I purchased off of Facebook Marketplace. The item was on there at the time, I think, had been on there for quite a while. And anytime that I see something's been on there a while, I always try to make an offer to see where they stand. I made an offer. It was rejected. I waited a little longer. It still was there. I made another contact with the gentleman and said, will you take the offer I offered you? And he finally said yes. This sold for $19.99 plus shipping. This is a label printer by Brother, I think, brand. And I think I paid $5 for it when we bought it. So good return on investment there. So I saved the best for last, always, as you know. And I've got 2 books, and I want to talk to you about both, and then we'll get into something else to close out the video. Everybody's aware of the current political climate. Got to be careful to choose my words correctly here. Of what's happening in the country right now. And as a result of some of the things that are happening in the country, if you recall, there was, there's been activity and talk about removing history, removing anything related to certain kind of history, and bringing things to more of a what they call equal for all. And so one of the things that I remember a couple of weeks back was that they wanted to go into the Walmart and remove Aunt Jemima pancake syrup bottles and Big Ben rice boxes. Well, along with the push to try to remove stuff, and I don't know if you caught this or not, but I caught up on it at one point. I read an article that said that someone was interested in going back and removing any reference to the movie Gone with the Wind. So I happened to be in a thrift store on a day after or whatever that I had heard that, and I ran across a book on the shelf, this one here, Gone with the Wind, all right? And this particular copy is a 1954 hardcover edition. And let me see real quick, guys, if it's the first edition, because I don't always put that. It is a first edition, so I don't always put that in my title. I guess I probably should have in that title, looking back at it now. But it is a first edition from 1954. And so that book right there sold for $34.99 plus shipping. Which brings me to my last topic sale today. Now, you know, books, by the way, if you're entertaining the ideal of trying to get involved with selling books, there's a couple of things that you need to always be, of course, looking for. You always want to keep in mind that hardcover always sells better than softcover. You also want to keep in mind, I guess, a few things. Foremost, you always want to make sure the condition, okay? Second, you want to make sure it's a hardcover versus softcover. Not that softcovers can't go for good money if they're, you know, whatever the condition, the circumstances may be about that book. But hardcover, and then the last thing you want to look at is dates and what edition they are. I tend to focus on books that, and I think I've said this in my video, I'll go through the thrift store rack and I'll look at the spines, is what I do. And if I see a spine that looks like an older book, comparing it to all the rest, I grab it off the shelf and look at it. I don't go through every single book to see if it's a first edition. I mean, there's first editions could be, you know, the year 2012. I don't bother with that stuff. I go all the way back into like pre-1950s and look for stuff like that, okay? That's just me. This particular book is called Life at the Naval Academy, and it is a book about the U.S. Naval Academy when it first was really getting going strong. It is a 1917 edition, first edition. It has a lot of history about a lot of different things about the Naval Academy that the cadets had to go through, and tells a little bit of the story behind it all. But the interesting thing about this is that the introduction to this book was written by Franklin Delano Roosevelt when he served as the Secretary of the Navy. And so, if you don't know your history, you know, that's a little tidbit of history for you. And he dated it January 20th, 1917. Now, he did not write that in. He typed out that as the introduction. And so I think one of the reasons why this particular book did so well is, number one, it's first edition, and it had Franklin Delano Roosevelt's intro in it before he became the president. And he went on later, as you guys know, and became the president of the United States. So, this particular book sold for $99.99 plus shipping. So, we're having a lot of success with books. I probably sold 10 to 12 books in the last 2 weeks. And the cool thing is that you can find these kind of books in your G Wheels, as I call them. We have a bookstore, a used bookstore here in Lynchburg that this Air Force veteran started. And it's been in business for a number of years now. And, you know, I can go over there and I can find 6 to 10 books like I described to you. And they charge a little more for books than your local G Wheel stores do. But I can come out of there with, you know, 6 to 10 books that I can flip for, you know, $20 a piece easy, and sometimes more. So it's just a matter of what you want to be in the reselling business to do, you know. And fast flips, I call them, are things that, you can kind of flip quick. And I think books, at least for us, books have done really well. As a matter of fact, you can't see it, but I'm actually looking at it, a book that I need to list that's sitting over here on my table right now. And it's an old Dear Abby for teenager book copy that I found that's like a first edition from Dear Abby. And remember, those of you who are at least my age and older remember the Dear Abby articles in the paper that people would write in questions and she would answer them kind of from a family perspective. And so I have no doubt that that book's going to go fast, and I don't know what I'm going to list it for right now, but I definitely know that I'm probably going to get at least $20 for that. So if you haven't and you're looking to try to find some things that flip fast, I suggest books. They're pretty easy to comp. They're pretty easy to research. And that's my little bit of advice for you today. So I'm going to close the video now. I hope everybody is doing well. And, there's some new things that are happening on my end that I've kind of been hinting around about. I'm actually going to be starting a new YouTube channel, and I'm not going to say a whole lot about that right now, but it's going to be a separate channel. And what I'll do on probably the next video of my Patriot Picker channel, I will reference it and leave the link to it in the description. And those of you who feel interested in the content that it will be providing can go over to that channel and subscribe as well and follow me there. So this is Patriot Picker, and I'm signing out, and I hope all of you are having great sales and success. We'll catch you guys again on the flip side.